Pranks are supposed to be harmless. A quick laugh, a simple joke. But sometimes what starts as fun turns into something dark. When fear, shock, or bad timing take over, the results can be tragic. In this video, we'll uncover 5 real stories of pranks that went horribly wrong. Acts meant for laughter that ended in disaster, leaving behind questions, guilt, and lives forever changed. It was April 23, 2010 in Kotara, a suburb near Newcastle, Australia. Gianni Catanzaro, a concreter, was finishing his shift at a construction site. He was supposed to get married the next day. His co-workers knew this. Some even called themselves his friends. But instead of celebrating, they decided to pull what they thought would be a funny prank. This so-called joke would change Gianni's life forever. Gianni was known as a hard worker, quiet, reliable, and focused. He had been looking forward to his wedding day, excited to start a new chapter in his life. But while at the job site that afternoon, 2 co-workers suddenly grabbed him. Without warning, one struck him in the groin. Before he could react, they pushed him against a fence and started wrapping duct tape around his wrists and ankles. They tied him so tightly he couldn't move. Then one of them pulled out a knife and cut off his clothes, leaving him in only his underwear. Other workers began to join in. They threw eggs at him while laughing, watching the yolk slide down his body. Gianni couldn't defend himself or get away. To them, it was entertainment. To Gianni, it was humiliating and painful, but things were about to get much worse. His supervisor, Leonardo Zaccardelli, picked up a canister of gasoline and poured it on the ground near Gianni's feet. He created a ring of fuel around the area where Gianni was tied up. Without saying a word, he struck a match. Flames erupted instantly, racing across the fuel toward Gianni. The fire spread quickly, pushed by the wind. It climbed up toward his legs and body as he struggled to break free. Panic set in. He could feel the heat closing in on him. Desperately, Gianni fought against the tape. After a few moments, his wrists came loose, and he managed to free himself. But as he tried to run, he tripped and fell forward, straight into the flames. The fire engulfed him. His skin burned, and he screamed for help. One of the workers finally rushed over and dragged him out, but by then the damage had already been done. Gianni suffered deep burns on his legs and other parts of his body. Doctors said he would need skin grafts and a long period of recovery. His wedding, which was supposed to happen the next day, had to be postponed. The honeymoon was canceled. Instead of walking down the aisle, Gianni was lying in a hospital bed, confined to a wheelchair and facing daily hospital visits. Workers had taken photos of the prank on their phones, showing every step from the duct tape and eggs to the fire being lit. These images were later used in court as evidence, but the aftermath only added to his pain. Gianni lost his job because he couldn't work while recovering. The same company that had employed him let him go. Eventually, the case went before the Industrial Court of New South Wales. Several workers faced punishment. Leonardo Zaccardelli, the supervisor who poured the fuel and started the fire, pleaded guilty. He was fined $2,000, ordered to pay $8,000 in legal fees, and repay $16,000 for Gianni's medical treatment. 2 other workers were fined, while 2 more received good behavior bonds. None of them served jail time. Gianni's life was permanently changed. What his co-workers called a harmless prank left him with lasting physical and emotional scars. His wedding plans were destroyed, his job was gone, and his trust in the people he worked with was broken. That day in Kotara was supposed to mark the start of his new life. Instead, it became a memory he would carry with him forever, all because of a joke that went too far. It was September 3, 2018 in Kolhapur district, Maharashtra, India. Inside a metal foundry, workers were finishing another long shift. Among them was Aditya Jadhav. He had been working there for some time, doing his usual tasks. Nothing about that day seemed unusual, until he crossed paths with his supervisor, Rakesh Wagmore. At the factory, joking around was common. Workers often used air pressure hoses to clean their clothes or cool off. But that day, a prank turned into something that would change everything. Security footage shows Aditya walking toward Rakesh, smiling and laughing. Rakesh held a compressed air hose, a tool used to clean machines. At first, he aimed the air at Aditya's back and neck, and Aditya reacted casually, even turning slightly to let the air reach more of his back. It looked like harmless fun between co-workers. Then suddenly, Rakesh took the hose and placed it inside the back of Aditya's trousers. He pressed the trigger and released a powerful blast of air toward his body. Within seconds, Aditya collapsed. His laughter stopped. He fell to the ground in pain as his co-workers rushed over, confused at first, then terrified. They quickly took him to a nearby hospital. Doctors ran tests and were stunned. The high-pressure air had entered Aditya's body with such force that it caused serious internal damage. His intestines were ruptured, and his condition was critical. Medical teams did everything possible, but the damage was too severe. Over the next 15 days, Aditya fought for his life, but his condition worsened. On September 18, 2018, he passed away in the hospital. Doctors confirmed that the cause of death was internal injuries from compressed air. The air pressure, meant to clean heavy machines, had torn through his organs. His last 2 weeks were filled with pain that could have been avoided. The factory's CCTV footage made it clear what had happened. This wasn't an accident, it was a reckless act. Rakesh, realizing the seriousness of what he had done, fled immediately and has been missing ever since. Police launched a manhunt, but as of the latest reports, he remains on the run. Witnesses confirmed that Rakesh had been laughing while using the hose on Aditya's back before taking the prank too far. Whether he meant harm or not, what followed was catastrophic. The type of compressed air used in such factories is extremely powerful. It's designed for cleaning machinery, not for use on people. The air can travel at very high speeds, and when directed at a human body, especially at a vulnerable spot, it can cause fatal injuries. In Aditya's case, the air had nowhere to escape once inside his body. It expanded rapidly, tearing through organs not built to handle such pressure. Incidents like this aren't unheard of. Around the world, similar workplace pranks have ended in tragedy. But what makes Aditya's case stand out is how sudden and severe it was. One moment, he was laughing with his supervisor. The next, his life was slipping away. After the footage spread online, many people were horrified. The video showed how quickly something that seemed harmless could become deadly. It sparked conversations across India and beyond about workplace safety, hazing, and careless behavior. Aditya's family was devastated. He had left home for another normal day at work and never returned. To make it worse, the man responsible was gone. The foundry made few public statements, but workers who witnessed the event were deeply traumatized. They had seen everything happen in seconds, from laughter to tragedy. Today, Aditya Jadhav's story stands as one of the most disturbing workplace deaths in recent memory. What started as laughter between coworkers ended in horror. One reckless decision, 1 second of carelessness, took a young man's life and left his family searching for justice, while the man who caused it is still nowhere to be found. It was January 19, 2020, in Temescal Valley, California. 6 boys were spending the night at a sleepover to celebrate 16-year-old Jacob Ivascu's birthday. They had spent the evening laughing, talking, and enjoying time together. Later that night, one of them suggested playing a prank, a ding-dong ditch, where someone rings a doorbell and runs away. Around 10:30 p.m., they chose a house nearby. That house belonged to 42-year-old Anurag Chandra. One boy ran to Chandra's door, rang the bell, and ran back to their Toyota Prius, where the others were waiting. Inside, Chandra's wife and 2 daughters were home. Later, in court, Chandra claimed the prank was more than a simple doorbell ring. He said one of the boys had hit the door hard and acted inappropriately, making him fear for his family's safety. But investigators later stated that no matter what happened at the door, Chandra's next actions went far beyond a reasonable response. Moments after the boys drove off, Chandra got into his 2019 Infiniti Q50 and began following them. Inside the Prius were Jacob, Daniel Hawkins, and Drake Ruiz, all 16, along with Jacob's 14-year-old brother Joshua, Daniel's 13-year-old brother Joshua, and their 18-year-old friend Sergio Campusano, who was driving. As they headed down Temescal Canyon Road, about 60 miles southeast of Los Angeles, they noticed Chandra's Infiniti behind them. Sergio later said they were terrified as Chandra drove aggressively and wouldn't back off. Then it happened. Chandra's car slammed into the back of the Prius, not once but twice. Investigators later said Chandra reached speeds near 99 miles per hour before the final hit. The impact sent the Prius off the road, where it crashed into a tree and then a utility pole. It was just before midnight. First responders arrived to find a devastating scene. The Prius was nearly destroyed. 3 boys, Jacob, Daniel, and Drake, were trapped inside. The other 3 managed to escape but were hurt. Sergio later said he blacked out and woke up on the ground, disoriented. One boy was pronounced dead at the scene. The other 2 passed away at the hospital. The surviving teen suffered serious injuries, including a fractured vertebra and a concussion. All were deeply traumatized. Chandra didn't stop. He drove home instead, leaving the crash site. But a witness who saw the collision followed him and called the police. Officers found his Infiniti damaged near the scene and arrested him shortly after. The California Highway Patrol determined that this wasn't a random accident. Lieutenant David Yoakley stated, It was intentional. Evidence showed Chandra deliberately rammed the Prius. He was charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder and 3 counts of attempted murder. Chandra pleaded not guilty. His lawyer claimed he had been frightened for his family and never meant to cause harm, adding that he had consumed 12 beers that night. But prosecutors said the evidence was clear. Chandra's actions were deliberate. All 6 boys had attended Olive Branch Church and School in Corona and were part of the youth group at North Point Evangelical Free Church. They were well-loved and known for their kindness. Their families were devastated. Jacob's mother, Ramona, said her son would have wanted forgiveness. Daniel's father, Craig, said he didn't want the boys to be remembered as just another statistic. Drake's father, Billy, said their faith helped them choose forgiveness. After the tragedy, GoFundMe pages were created to support the families. One for the Ruiz family raised over $15,000. They also made a memorial website, rememberthe3.com, to honor the boys. Chandra's trial began in 2023. On April 28th, after 3 hours of deliberation, the jury found him guilty on all counts. Riverside County District Attorney Mike Hestron called the case a horrendous and senseless tragedy. On July 14th, 2023, Chandra was sentenced to life in prison without parole. During sentencing, families spoke through tears. Daniel's father said, "The hole in our hearts from losing our son is staggering." The story reached people far beyond Temescal Valley. Many said it changed how they looked at life, to cherish loved ones more deeply. 3 young lives were lost that night because of one man's moment of extreme anger. The boys were simply playing a harmless prank. But that night changed families forever. Jacob Avascu, Daniel Hawkins, and Drake Ruiz, all 16 years old, are remembered not just for how they died, but for how they lived. It was October 31st, 1998, in the Bronx, New York. Carl Jackson, a 21-year-old man, decided to do something different that year. He usually stayed home on Halloween because he thought it was too dangerous, but that night, he wanted to make it special for his girlfriend, Darlene, and her 9-year-old son, Clyde. So he offered to take them to a Halloween party. Carl had just turned 21 a few weeks earlier. He was focused, kind, and had a good job as a computer programmer at Morgan Stanley. Raised in the Bronx by a nurse and a postal worker, he was known for being calm and responsible, the type of person who avoided trouble. After attending a children's Halloween party, Carl planned to drop Clyde off with a babysitter before heading with Darlene to another event. But they never made it. As they drove through the Bronx that night, eggs suddenly struck Carl's car. A group of teenagers nearby had started throwing them. It was exactly the kind of reckless prank Carl always warned about, something that might seem harmless but could easily lead to danger. Carl pulled over. He stepped out and walked toward the group. Witnesses say he spoke to them briefly, likely asking them to stop. There was no fight, no physical struggle. After a short exchange, Carl turned back and got into the passenger seat, likely thinking it was over. But it wasn't. One of the teens, 17-year-old Curtis Sterling, didn't let it go. He got into his own car and began following Carl and Darlene. A short while later, Curtis caught up, pulled out a firearm, and fired a single shot at Carl. The shot was fatal. Darlene and Clyde were still in the car. There was no fight or chase, just one moment of anger that ended a young man's life. Carl's father later told the New York Times, "A young life was lost over nothing." He said Carl had always avoided Halloween because he knew how reckless the night could be. That year, he made an exception, and it cost him everything. Carl's mother, Gloria Jackson, said it took 2 years before the family could even talk about what happened. The loss was unbearable. She said, "We never thought something like this could happen to our family, especially on a holiday, over something so senseless." Curtis Sterling was arrested soon after. He was convicted and sentenced to 20 years in prison. Each Halloween since, Gloria Jackson has sent him a card that says the same thing. "I'm glad you're still there." Carl's story deeply affected the Bronx community, but it wasn't the only case like this. Between 1984 and 2010, at least 24 people in New York City were seriously harmed or lost their lives in incidents linked to egg throwing. In 1994, a man in Brooklyn was hit with eggs by a group of boys. He reacted by attacking one of them, a 12-year-old child who didn't survive. In 1996, a 10-year-old boy was shot in the neck during a Halloween egg fight. And in 2005, 31-year-old Joseph Padra was killed after chasing teens who threw eggs at his vehicle. The shooter in that case was only 15 years old. All of these cases followed the same pattern, a prank that turned into something irreversible. Carl Jackson's story stands out because of how careful he was. He didn't fight or threaten anyone. He simply asked for respect and walked away. His childhood friend Jamel Fleming remembered him as quiet, respectful, and intelligent. They had gone to school together in the Bronx, and Carl had gone on to build a stable career in technology. Jamel, who had moved to Washington, D.C. by then, returned home to attend his funeral. He said it was heartbreaking to lose someone doing everything right. One of the last photos of Carl shows him with his mother celebrating his birthday at a Red Lobster, both smiling, unaware it would be their last picture together. The loss didn't just take one life. It broke the hearts of everyone who knew him, all because of a reckless prank that spiraled out of control. Carl Jackson was 21 years old, a son, a friend, a partner, gone in seconds. Every Halloween since, his mother keeps his memory alive, reminding everyone that one careless act can change everything. It was May 16, 2006, in Dallas, Texas. That morning, teachers and staff at Lake Highlands High School gathered in the lounge for what seemed like a simple treat: freshly baked bran muffins. Within hours, that treat would send 19 people to the hospital. Some couldn't walk straight. Others were dizzy, sick, and scared. One woman spent 2 full days in the hospital, unable to stop laughing even as her body shook with nausea. At first, no one knew what was happening. Then came the surveillance footage and the FBI. What they uncovered was far more serious than a prank. It involved 2 18-year-old students, Ian Walker and Joseph Tellini. Joseph was a senior at Lake Highlands High, while Ian studied at Bishop Lynch, a nearby Catholic school. Both were bright, well-liked students. As graduation approached, they planned what they thought would be a funny senior prank. Joseph baked the muffins but secretly mixed in an illegal substance. Ian's job was to deliver them. To make it believable, Ian told staff the muffins were part of an Eagle Scout project. Teachers trusted him and ate the pastries without suspicion. Soon after, things took a turn. Within hours, staff began feeling strange. Some were lightheaded or nauseous, others confused and paranoid. 18 employees were taken to hospitals. One of them was 86-year-old receptionist Rita Greenfield, who was hospitalized for 2 days. She later said she couldn't stop laughing but felt terrible. "I don't think of this as a prank," she said. "It caused heartache and hard feelings." Another teacher, Pamela Carnavas, suffered symptoms for 10 days. She said she had never used any illegal substances before and felt paranoid and unwell. At first, the school didn't know if it was food poisoning or something more serious. Because the incident involved possible contamination of food at a public school, the FBI and a joint terrorism task force were brought in. Investigators reviewed surveillance footage showing Ian delivering the muffins. Lab tests confirmed they contained marijuana. Soon after, both Ian and Joseph were identified and taken into custody. Each faced 5 felony charges of assault on a public servant. At that time, the charges carried up to 10 years in prison, but prosecutors pushed to upgrade them, which could mean 20 years if convicted. The case shocked the community. These weren't known troublemakers. They were students from stable homes. Ian's mother, Caroline, said she was watching the news when she heard about that stupid kid who had done it, not realizing it was her own son. Ian later apologized publicly. "It was stupid and childish," he said. "I thought it was just a senior prank." Because of the incident, he wasn't allowed to graduate with his class. On October 19, 2007, both young men stood before Judge Lana Myers for sentencing. Joseph, who baked the muffins, received a harsher punishment: 5 years of community supervision, 180 hours of service at a homeless shelter, and over $13,000 in restitution to 5 victims, split with Ian. Ian got 2 years of supervision, 80 hours of community service, and the same restitution. Both were granted deferred adjudication, meaning their records would stay clean if they followed all terms. But their names were already tied to the incident forever. In court, both read letters of apology. Joseph wrote, "There's no excuse for causing others pain for a laugh." Ian said, "This has opened my eyes. I've rethought every choice I make and will never do anything illegal again." Prosecutor Courtney Hopping said their letters would be published in their school newspapers. She added that the prank cost the school district $43,500 in total. For some teachers, the outcome brought closure. Pamela Carnavas, who suggested the boys work at a homeless shelter, appreciated the judge's decision. She told them she never wanted to see them in her courtroom again, she said. Still, some students at the school continued to laugh about the event. Pamela said she hoped people would understand the real impact, not just on the teachers, but on the boys too. 19 staff members were hospitalized. One elderly woman spent 2 days there. The district lost thousands of dollars, and 2 students who thought they were being funny nearly lost their futures. The FBI, local police, and a terrorism task force all became involved. It was never a simple prank. It was a serious act that risked lives. Years later, when people search their names online, they're still remembered as the Muffin Boys, a moment of poor judgment that changed their lives forever.